useful. So our next speaker is Aditi Dey, who is Senior Research Fellow, Surveillance at NCIRS, and holds a conjunct appointment as Associate Professor at the Sydney Medical School, University of Sydney. Aditi is going to speak on winter illness vaccination coverage, current status across the ages. Aditi.
Thanks very much, Gary. I hope people can hear me. I had to lower the mic because of my height. So before I start, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands, and I'd like to pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. So as Gary mentioned, I'll be just talking about vaccine coverage, focusing on influenza, RSV, and COVID. Before I show you any coverage data, I must acknowledge my NCRS colleagues, the coverage team, Alex Hendry, Brindley Hull, Sophia Say, and Frank Beard for all the hard work they do at NCRS for generating this data and providing it live on our NCRS website. And the data is updated every week on influenza and RSV there. So what I'm going to present today is data from last week, and very recently on Monday, our influenza data got again updated. So I'd like to draw your attention to our NCRS website where we publish our flu coverage data on a weekly basis. So influenza. So these are the constituents of the 2026 vaccine. It's a trivalent vaccine, and there's no B Yamagata strain included in this. You can see the egg-based influenza vaccines have those components there. I won't read it out to you. And the cell-based influenza vaccines have those components in it for this year. The influenza vaccine recommendation, it's recommended for all, and there's been no change this year with regards to their funded groups on the National Immunization Program. For short, I'll be calling it NIP. The NIP-funded vaccines in this table is shown by various age group, by various vaccine types, and the ticks denote that that's where the vaccine is registered in those age groups. The hashtags denote whether they're free on the NIP, and the stars denote where the NIP funding is for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, pregnant women, and people who have certain medical conditions. I'm not going to dwell too much on these slides because all these slides will be made available to you. So I'll just quickly go over, because I want to get to the data to show you what it's looking like now. So who needs 2 doses? Children, when they've not received, when they're receiving it for the first time, age 6 months to less than 2 years, and those with medical risk conditions, age from 6 months to less than 9 years. A second dose should be given 4 weeks apart. And for pregnant women, transplant recipients, and travelers as well. Different brands of influenza vaccines are interchangeable by type and by administration methods as well. So what's the coverage looking like for influenza vaccine in 2026? And as I mentioned to you, this data was as at 7th of June, which was last week. And it's suboptimal coverage in all age groups, including those with funded vaccination. As I mentioned to you, it's updated weekly, and the most recent one was updated just this Monday. Reporting includes data by age groups eligible for LAIV and more data at state and territory level. So for the over 65-year-olds, you can see that coverage, 65 and over, showed about 54% coverage. For those aged 6 months to less than 2 years, it was 22.7%. And for those aged 2 to less than 6 years, it was 18.9%, as you can see. So this is the data for 2026. And on our website, if you go, you would be able to scroll down and see all the data in more detail. So looking at it by state and territory, it differs across various states and territories. This data is from 1st of March to the 6th of June. For those aged, I've just shown you the Australian figures there, but if you look across your various state and territory, you will see that it differs across states and territories across the country. Now, when we compare this with previous years, how does it look like? So this figure shows influenza vaccine coverage by various age groups from 2023 to 2025, and we do observe a decline from 2023 to this point in time. So for the 6 months to less than 5 years, in 2025, it was 27.9%. So it's really, that's the funded age group, and it's really suboptimal. And as you go down the age groups, you see it's still quite low compared to 2023. For the over 65s, it's over 60%. That's quite reassuring, but I would still say it is suboptimal. In 2023, it was 64.3, and that declined to 61.9 in 2025. In Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, the data was very similar to what I've just shown you in all Australians. Now, when you compare this, I've just shown you from 2023 there's been a decline, but when you compare it with 2020, which was a very unusual year, where coverage was very high, it appears to have declined across all age groups, as shown in this figure, by age group. And this is from, I'm showing you just data for the adults, where you see this decline as well. So not a positive look. And I think we are discussing today, this data, what does it mean, and how do you improve uptake across age groups? I just thought I'll give you a little taster of the LAIV data that we have on our website as well. So LIV is funded by states and territories. It's not NIP funded. It's funded in New South Wales, South Australia, Western Australia, and Queensland. And it's only approved till 2 years to 17 years of age. And it's not approved for those older than that because due to lack of studies supporting effectiveness. So I'm just going to quickly go through some of the states and territories that have funded the program. So in New South Wales, I just want you to draw your attention to the little table in the center where we look at number of people who are vaccinated with at least 1 dose of influenza vaccine and the proportion of those vaccinated with an LAIV. So in New South Wales, for those aged 2 to less than 3 years, it was 74% of people who had an influenza vaccine got an LAIV vaccine. So, and you see that proportion is pretty high till less than 5 years of age. Recently, I think New South Wales Health increased the age of that funding to older children and adolescents. So now you're seeing those rates, proportions increasing across the other age groups. Similarly, in Western Australia, now in Western Australia, it's funded from 2 to less than 12 years of age. And again, you see that over 12 years of age, the proportion is really small. Sorry, I can't use the pointer here to show you. So it's for the unfunded component for those aged 12 to less than 18 years, it's only 4.5%. But those younger age groups, it's pretty high. Similarly, in Queensland. So in Queensland, it's only funded for 2 years to less than 6 years. And again, that's where you see the high proportion of children who got that LAIV vaccine. I just also wanted to show you South Australia, where it's funded for children aged 2 to less than 5 years, similar sort of thing. And in the unfunded age groups, the proportions are much lower. It's of no surprise where it's only available in the private market. The proportion vaccinated with an LAIV is really low here. As an example, Victoria. So it's only about 6% across various age groups, and then slightly rises up in the 5 to less than 6 years and 6 to less than 12 years of age. But this is all privately funded in Victoria. Similarly, in Tasmania, it's privately available, and in ACT, privately available. Northern Territory, it's also privately available. So that's where we are with influenza vaccines. Now coming on to RSV. So our RSV prevention strategies are based around the infant program as well as our adult program. So for the infant program, we have the vaccine for pregnant women to protect infants through Abrysvo, and for infants, nirsevimab, the monoclonal antibody. And for adults, we've got the 2 other vaccines that are available for them. This is a busy slide. I just wanted to draw your attention to the very last column in this table, where it shows NIP funding. So for pregnant women, it's funded from 28 weeks of gestation for every pregnancy, and the NIP-funded vaccine is Abrysvo. Similarly, for those aged over 75 and over, the NIP-funded vaccine is Arexvy. For Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people aged 60 years and over, it's, again, the NIP-funded vaccine is Arexvy. And for all other populations, it's available for private purchase. So as I mentioned in my earlier slide, that a single dose of Abrysvo is recommended for each pregnancy from 28 weeks of gestation. And that's because antibody levels following vaccinations wane over time, and this strategy allows for high antibody levels to be generated for passive antibody transfer to the fetus. So it's, the recommendation is for every pregnancy. Nirsevimab is currently funded by states and territories, and co-administration is safe with routine infant and childhood vaccines and other products such as oral or IM vitamin K and hepatitis B immunoglobulin. I just wanted to show you some uptake data with regards to Abrysvo for women aged 15 to 54 years of age by age group. Unfortunately, I cannot show you coverage data because this is data from the Australian Immunisation Register. We do not have a denominator there because there's no pregnancy status reported or age of gestation reported in the Australian Immunisation Register. So this is just uptake data, and what we observe in this figure is that women, Abrysvo was most commonly administered to females aged 25 to 39 years of age, which is that yellow graph there. The other age groups, 40 to 54 years is in the blue, and the 15 to 24 years of age in that graph is in that burgundy red color there, which is much, much lower. So the uptake is been quite high in females aged 25 to 39 years of age. These are just the numbers there, just for people who like to see a figure. So for the 25 to 39 years of age, it's 161,000 doses that were administered. Again, that differs by states and territories, and this is the data by state and territory there. Just to show you that certain states and territories introduced the vaccine earlier. For example, the burgundy color graph here shows Queensland because they introduced the vaccine much earlier, and so you see that quick rise, but it's all stabilized during this period of time. Forgot to mention this period of time that's been covered in this graph is from 1st of April 2024 to 31st of January 2026. Just wanted to give you a taste of the provider type by age group. Where are these women getting the vaccines? So the 25 to 39-year age groups, they're getting the vaccines mainly in general practice, followed by pharmacies and in the hospitals as well. Whereas the younger women, they're getting it at the hospital level. So you see the green teal color there, that's 30%, and the dark navy blue there is 35.3% in those aged 15 to 24 years of age. This is just a timeline of the prior to the rollout of the RSV vaccine. So as I showed you in the earlier graph, that Queensland initially only had nirsevimab, which I'm going to actually show you now, but I showed you the program of the RSV vaccine. They introduced that in December. And then from February onwards, it was a national rollout of the vaccine. And subsequently, the program about nirsevimab is mentioned in this slide. Again, a quick look at the uptake data, and you can go into our website. I've provided the link there for you to click and explore the data a bit more. But each data point represents the total number of children who administered the nirsevimab monoclonal antibody between the first and last day of the relevant month. And the uptake in 2025 may be slightly lower than 2024 for some jurisdictions due to rollout of the maternal Abrysvo vaccination in this program. And there are variations in uptake across jurisdictions over time that also reflect differences in state territory funded nirsevimab programs. In one of my earlier slides, I did show you that this vaccine is now funded for older Australians, and that announcement was made in April this year, that there would be a free RSV vaccine for older Australians. So the funded vaccines are for adults aged over 75 and over, and for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander adults aged 60 years and over. And that's in green on the left-hand side, but one can consider giving the vaccine for other age groups as well, but that would be privately funded. So what is the RSV vaccine coverage showing in older adults? It's only 3.5% of adults over 75 and over who got the vaccine, but that data is, we calculated the coverage between 1st of May 2023 to 31st of March. And that's because we use those dates because we wanted to capture those people who may have received an RSV vaccine in 2023 when it was first registered overseas, for example, in the US, and was subsequently reported in the Australian Immunization Register. So there's a substantial cost to this vaccine on the private market and a limited uptake with regards to that in the private market as well. So COVID-19, this is data has been sourced from the Australian Respiratory Surveillance Reports. So the 2026 COVID-19 vaccine recommendation and booster intervals remain unchanged compared to last year. The only vaccine that's now available in Australia is the Pfizer vaccine LP 8.1, and it's funded for all eligible people, including those without Medicare. I'll just skip over this slide because I've just talked about that. I just wanted to show you some coverage data before I finish off. So this is COVID-19 vaccine coverage by age group and jurisdiction between 26 May 2025 to 31st May 2026. So the first part of the table is the coverage in the last 12 months, so between 26th of May 2025 to 31st of May 2026, and the lower part of the table is for coverage in the last 6 months, that is between 1st of December 2025 to 31st of May 2026. And as we can see, the coverage is, again, suboptimal, but we do see the coverage, if you focus on the totals on the extreme right-hand side, you can see the coverage for those aged 75 years and over is 37.1 in the past 1 year, and it's in the last 6 months, it's only 26.9%. I just wanted to draw your attention to that. Thank you. And in Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander people, it follows a similar trend to that of the overall Australian population, noting that the coverage in those aged 75 years and over was 24% in the last 1 year, and in the last 6 months, it was 16.5%. And with that, I just wanted to end without having any conclusions, mainly because we'll be discussing more about how to improve uptake for influenza, RSV, and COVID-19 vaccines. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that excellent overview. Are there any questions from the floor? If not, I have one question online. Did the total percentage of children increase in the funded LAIV states compared to the unfunded ones? Was an increase, percentage increase in uptake? So
what I could show was only the percentage of LAIV in comparison with the total influenza vaccine that was administered. Again, difficult to calculate coverage, so I've just shown proportions there. So it did increase over time in those that were funded compared to the unfunded.
Okay. Stephen Lambert from Queensland Health and NCS. Thanks, Aditi, a great talk. I guess one of the themes that comes out in looking at the coverage data is, for whatever reason, ACT and to a lesser extent Tasmania, with a smaller geographical footprint and smaller populations, seem to do quite well in terms of getting coverage up, whereas larger jurisdictions don't. I wonder if that's a message to us that we should really be devolving responsibility for coverage down to a smaller geographical population level. Thanks.
Yes, thanks for that comment, Stephen. Absolutely, to actually delve into and finding out where the coverage is low and then targeting strategies towards and bringing that up. Thanks for that, Stephen.
Well, Stephen, I just think there's something special about the ACT.
Thanks very much, Aditi. Given our recent experience with LAIV in the jurisdictions who've been funding it and the experience from overseas, in a perfect world, how do you think we should be implementing LAIV?
Well, again, thanks for that question, Jim. It's a state-funded program, and jurisdictions have taken, some jurisdictions have taken that initiative to fund that. I guess in an ideal world, shouldn't it be funded nationally through the NIP program? But again, it would depend on the PBAC processes, cost effectiveness, et cetera, et cetera.
And the...
Sorry, just one follow-up to that is, given the success in the UK of the school-based program, where do you think, assuming it was funded, where do you think we should be implementing?
Oh, yes, definitely. Across I think, all settings to those under 18, whether that's in primary school, high school, and school settings, and other settings as well. So making as many opportunities available to children to get vaccinated. Yeah, but school-based is an excellent idea.
If you don't mind, my friend, I might bump you to the workshop session with a question. Thank you.
Thanks.
So we do. Thank you again, Aditi.